believe me, there are some white folk who don't like black people. But that's not what racism is about. That's internal confusion on that person's part. I'm talking about a system that is in place for a particular purpose. Now, why does this exist? You must understand, brothers and sisters, that white genes are in danger of being annihilated. I don't care how you try to deal with it, when you mix a colored person, whether they're black, brown, red, or yellow, with a person who is classified as white, when they have a baby, that baby is coming out colored.
What's up YouTube family? Welcome back to my space. This is Evans Raiola. So guys, I have been doing a series on black history. I have been doing a series on the history of racism in America, and I have done videos of Pastor Fred Price. I've done videos of Carol Anderson, Cloud Anderson, and Dr. Welsing, and more other prominent leaders who advocated for black rights, you know. And to speak to us today is Dr. Ray Huggins, who is a prominent speaker and chief elder of the African Village and Cultural Center. He has been vocal about the deep-seated issues of racism, particularly how it intertwines with religion and science. He views racism, especially as white supremacy, as a systematic problem that is often masked under various guises, including religion. According to Huggins, religious teachings have historically been manipulated to justify and perpetuate racism, leading to the widespread acceptance of white supremacy as a norm in many societies. In his talks, Huggins argues that scientific racism, the use of pseudo-scientific methods to justify racial discrimination, has been another tool to sustain racial hierarchies. He emphasizes that understanding these historical and contemporary mechanisms is crucial for dismantling racism and achieving a true equality. Huggins also stresses on the importance of raising self-education within the black community to counteract the effects of systematic racism. So guys, I want us to watch this video of Dr. Huggins speaking about the roots of racism in the USA, specifically talking about the white supremacists who are making it hard for the black people and the people of color in the US. So I want us to watch this video, and then we'll stop it at the end of the video just to give it critical analysis. Let's watch this, guys.
I want to give you several points today in helping you to understand racism. The first thing we need to understand is the truth. Because see, if you don't know the truth, then the rest of your thesis, the rest of your understanding is all going to be wrong. Right. So the first thing we need to understand is the truth. What is the truth about racism? What is the truth about white supremacy? What do you mean, Pastor Ray, when you say racism? Look at the person next to you and say, a black person cannot be a racist. A black person cannot be a racist. Please understand that. Now, a black person may be prejudiced. Yes. Anybody can be prejudiced. Anybody can be a bigot. But in order to be a racist, you have to have the power to subjugate another people of another color. Look at the person next to you and say, we don't have the power to hold anybody down but ourselves. Y'all with me on that? We can't stop the Arabs. We can't hold down the Chinese. And we sure enough ain't holding no white folk down. Okay? But yet we have been subjugated or suppressed or oppressed by white supremacy. Racism, as I've said, and white supremacy is synonymous. When I say racism, I mean white supremacy. You need to understand, brothers and sisters, when I say racism, I'm not just talking about what goes on in St. Louis.
All right.
When I say racism, I'm not just talking about within the borders of the state of Missouri.
All right. All right.
I'm not even just talking about in the South or the North or the East or the West or in the United States or North America. When I say racism, I'm talking about a global system that is in place strategically and working very well according to its agenda. Racism is a global system of behavior among persons who classify themselves as white, whether consciously or subconsciously. Everybody repeat this after me. The objective of racism is white genetic survival on planet Earth. Did y'all hear me? Please understand, people, when we see racists don't hate you. It's not about hate.
No, sir.
It's not about not liking black people. Now, believe me, there are some white folk who don't like black people, but that's not what racism is about. That's internal confusion on that person's part. I'm talking about a system that is in place for a particular purpose. Now, why does this exist? You must understand, brothers and sisters, that white genes are in danger of being annihilated. I don't care how you try to deal with it, when you mix a colored person, whether they're black, brown, red, or yellow, with a person who is classified as white, when they have a baby, that baby is coming out colored. That's what we're dealing with here. It's called, see, you got to understand, white genes are recessive. Can I speak scientific with y'all for a moment here? White genes are recessive. Black genes are dominant. It's not our fault. Don't blame us.
Right.
That's how God made us. That's what that's about.
Go ahead, Doctor.
So you gotta understand, y'all, there's a little piece of land on the planet. It's a very tiny, small piece of land called Europe. Very small piece of land north of Africa called Europe.
Yes, sir.
And the inhabitants of Europe make up less than 10% of the world population. Y'all following this thing? See, in the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th centuries, when the Europeans, when Columbus and them got lost, got me? When they got lost and landed in every port they went to, guess what they saw? They saw colored folk. They saw black folk, brown folk, red folk, yellow folk, all types of shades of people. And they came to realize everywhere we go, we see people of color. That's when Europe realized that if we don't do something,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
we're not going to exist much longer genetically. So that's when the programs went in place to deal with the threat of genetic annihilation of white folk. Now that's the truth. Y'all don't have to take my word for it. Look around you and see by way of what you've seen, or go try an experiment. Go get some white anything and put some color in it and tell me what happened. Y'all understand what I'm saying? That's because black, all colors come from black. That's scientifically fact. No color comes from white because white is recessive. Now, with that understanding, the next thing you need to do is, what are you going to do about the truth that you understand? Everybody repeat this with me. This is Neely Fuller's phrase. Unless you understand white supremacy, and of course I do mean racism when I say that, what it is and how it works, everything else you understand will only confuse you. Did I lose y'all?
No, sir.
You must, brothers and sisters, see, for example, yesterday I had a young lady come and challenge a point that I had made in my lecture. She wanted to know, what difference does it make if Jesus is white? That's what she wanted to know. And I said, sweetheart, you missed the whole point because you're not looking through the lens of white supremacy. Once you look through the lens of white supremacy, you'll see why they would take a character who's supposed to be out of Africa and make him white. You see, I mean, once you look through the lens of white supremacy, what difference does it make? Why, it made big enough difference for them to paint him white. I mean, first of all, it made a big enough difference to create him in the first place.
Family, I really like how Dr. Huggins tackled this issue of racism in the US. In his teaching dubbed Understanding Racism by Dr. Ray Huggins, he spoke about the type of people in the earth. He says there are three types of people. There are white people, non-white people, and then the white supremacists. And he talks about these white supremacists and say that they are also called racist. There are people who classify themselves as white and practice racial classification against people that are classified as non-white. So he says that people must first find the roots of racism and get to understand what racism is. And according to Dr. Huggins, he says that racism is perpetuated, or rather is fostered, by people who are known as white supremacists. He highly links racism to white supremacists. And he says, he starts his teaching by asking, what is racism? A black person can't be racist. In order to be racist, you must have power to segregate. And black people do not have that power. We've been oppressed by the white supremacists time and again, since time immemorial. Racism means white supremacy. And he says that black people cannot be racist. He says racism means white supremacy. And he says there is no way a black person can be racist because they do not have power. You know, you cannot be racist when you do not have power over certain people. And from time immemorial, long time ago, white people have always been known as the supreme beings when it comes to the human race in the US and all over the world. They've developed the tendency of white supremacy, which Dr. Huggins links with racism. Racism is a global system of behavior among persons who classify themselves as white, whether consciously or unconsciously. The objective of racism is white genetic survival. Let me stop there. He says the objective of racism is white genetic survival. That reminds me of the teachings of Dr. Welsing, where Dr. Welsing says that black people are dominant genetically. And if you take a black person, mix with a white person, or anyone of color to mix with a white person, the outcome is always colored. She says in her theory that she believes that the biggest reason as why racism has been fostered by white supremacists is the fear of the black dominant genetics, because white people are genetically recessive. The same analogy has been spoken here by Dr. Ray Huggins, the very, very same analogy, that the biggest fear of white supremacists is the black dominance when it comes to matters genetics. He says once again that racism is a global system of behavior among persons who classify themselves as white, whether consciously or unconsciously. The objective of racism, listen guys, is white genetic survival on planet Earth. You know, it is difficult for the white for the white genes rather to survive on planet Earth, considering there is a lot of black people on Earth, and we know that our genes are dominant. He continues to say, racism is not about hate. It is in place for a particular purpose. It's not about hate. You know, some people think that white folks just stop you on the road, abuse you. Police have a lot of brutality when it comes to black people, that because they hate us. No. Dr. Huggins and also Dr. Welsing are having the same analogy as to why racism is fostered in the US. It is the fear of the dominant black genetics. You know, he says white genes are endangered. They are recessive while black genes are dominant, just like I have explained. It is not our fault that our genes are dominant, but that's how God made us. He proceeds to say, when Columbus got lost, they saw colored folks and they realized everywhere they go, they see people of color. And that's how Europe discovered that if they do not do something, they don't gonna exist longer genetically. You remember the story of Columbus. Columbus was having a tour all over the world, trying to discover the world, you know, finding the new world, the US right now. And as they were moving around all over the globe, they noticed that there is a constant figure, a figure of people of color. People of color are everywhere, and they were shocked. What is happening? And according to the preacher's teachings today, he says that this fostered racism and racism behaviors all over the world by white supremacists, because as Columbus was moving around, he noticed constantly that there are colored people around, you know. And remember, have the issue of genetics in your mind. If the colored people are many in the world, that means that the white race can easily be wiped out. Yo, Dr. Ray really tackled this really, really well. He says, if you get anything white and put some color to it, you know what happens. Anything white and put some color to it, especially black color, you know what happens. The white fades off. And he proceeds to say, that's because all colors come from black, because white is recessive. The white color is always recessive. If you mix it with any other color, if you mix the white color with any other color, it will turn. It wouldn't be white again. That's the analogy that the pastor was pushing. Unless you understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else will confuse you. So if you do not understand the analogy that white supremacists are really pushing outside there, then you won't understand anything racist. Because the main aim as to why black folks have been subjected to a lot of racism, the main aim as to why black folks have been enslaved over the years has always been to try and neutralize them. Because we have the power. The power is in our genetics. Remember during slavery, they did not want a black man to take a book and read. They did not want a black man to have access to education. They did not want a black man to know the power that they carried in them. And that has been the work of a white supremacist all these years. In the US specifically, this has been their biggest fear. And that's why they are trying so hard to make black folks feel like they're inferior, like they are less. But the reverse is true. The opposite is true. Black folks have the power. Black folks are blessed. Black folks have any other thing that you all are told you do not have, that you are inferior. No. We are actually very blessed to have a dominant genetics. You know, he proceeds to say, somebody wanted to know the difference that it makes when Jesus is of color or not. You know, when people hear some pastors preach and say, you know, Jesus was not white, Jesus was black. You know, the Europeans made this portrait of a white Jesus just to manipulate us and lie to us and make us feel like we're inferior and all that stuff. You know, that we've said that time and again. You know, somebody asks the pastor, in this case, Dr. Ray Huggins, he asked him, why is it so important to know the color of Jesus? And here is his answer. If you look at the lens of white supremacy, you will see what they take from us. You will see why they want to take the character of Jesus and replace it to us being white. If you understand the analogy of white supremacists, if you understand the thing they are trying to push, then you will know why it is important for it to be an issue. Why it's important for black folks to defend the color of Jesus. Because they, after slavery, they introduced religion to us. You know, we are new to religion. We do not know who Jesus was at the time. We do not know who God is. Missionaries bring in the word and tell us, yo, Jesus was a white man. You know, what does that make you feel? That the white people are superior to blacks? You know, and that was the analogy that was being pushed time and again in the US, time and again all over the world. If you come to Africa even right now, you will meet in churches, in public spaces where there is a portrait of Jesus. He is he's resembled as a white man, you know, and that was a wrong depiction. Jesus was actually black. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Kindly do consider subscribing to my channel for amazing black stories in Africa and in the diaspora. And guys, right now I am doing a series on black history. I am doing a series on what black folks have been put all these years, the lies we have been told, the fears white supremacists have of black people, the power that we have in us, you know. And I want to enlighten black folks all over the world that we are actually not inferior. We are made in the image and likeness of God, and there is nothing that is less in us and more in white folks. You know, we are actually not inferior. This is the message that I am trying to push with my videos. So guys, thank you so much. Kindly like this video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users. And guys, comment down below. Let me know what you think about this video. You can also tag along your families and friends. Tell them Evans Raiola is spreading a very nice message, a nice cause, and you'd want them to also come and check out my other videos. I've done a lot of videos in this series, and I hope you all may go and check them from the very start till where we are right now, so that you may get to understand my goal with this series, guys. So thank you so much. Like the video, subscribe, and guys, comment down below. And you can also support me through super thanks down on right here on the right side of your TV screen or your phone, and I'll be so grateful, guys. So see you all in my next video. Goodbye for now. See you.